Lady Justice, inviting all of the people out on an adventure. Let's go see what we can find. Who's in?
So, why should you pick up a camera and film your government? It's a pretty profound question, right? But honestly, the answer is surprisingly simple. It's because transparency isn't just some nice favor the government grants us out of the goodness of their hearts. No, it is a bedrock constitutional standard, and we, as citizens, are the ones responsible for enforcing it.
Okay, let's dive into this because this happens way too often. Everyday people are out there and they're told to put their phones away, or stop filming, or just get off a public sidewalk. And the excuses, they're always the same. You hear things like, hey, this is an active investigation, or you're making the officers uncomfortable. But let's be absolutely clear right out of the gate here. Discomfort is not a law. Making a public official a little uneasy just by documenting their actions, that absolutely does not override your civil liberties.
Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're breaking down why we film, the constitutional right to record government. We are going to explore the First Amendment foundations that fiercely protect this action, along with the specific federal case law that makes it undeniably lawful to record your public servants. And perhaps most importantly, we're going to look at the very practical legal rules of engagement so you can stand your ground safely and effectively. Here's a quick roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll cover the right to record. Then, we'll dig into the First Amendment foundations, followed by a look at those landmark federal rulings. After that, we'll go over the rules of engagement. And finally, we'll wrap things up with a concept we call the ultimate disinfectant. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the right to record and how to confront the intimidation that, let's face it, often comes with it. The core philosophy we're working with here is actually super straightforward. When public servants, whether we're talking about local code enforcement or the police, step out into public spaces to do their jobs, they work for the public, they work for us. And in a free society, whatever happens in public view is unconditionally subject to public record. If they are operating in a public space, you have every right to stand there, observe, and document exactly what they're doing. Moving on to Section 2, First Amendment foundations. Let's talk about why the physical act of hitting the record button is actually considered speech. So where does this right actually come from? Well, if you read the Constitution, you're obviously not going to find the word camera or smartphone anywhere in the text. But what you will find is the First Amendment, which protects freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and the right to petition the government. And courts across the country have recognized a really simple logical reality. You absolutely cannot disseminate speech or news if the government blocks you from gathering it in the first place, right? Creating a recording is literally the necessary first step in the process of speech. Whether you're writing an investigative article, posting a quick video online, or just documenting an interaction for a court record, the act of capturing that video and audio is legally defined as constitutionally protected news gathering. And this brilliantly illustrates one of the absolute most vital aspects of the law. You don't need a fancy press badge. The Constitution doesn't just hand freedom of the press exclusively over to huge corporate media outlets with their expensive camera crews. Not at all. The casual bystander standing on a public easement holding nothing but a smartphone holds the exact same right to gather information about their government as a fully credentialed reporter. Which brings us to Section 3, landmark federal rulings. Because this isn't just theory, folks. The courts have spoken, and they've spoken very clearly. Over the last 2 decades or so, federal appellate courts across America have repeatedly ruled in favor of citizens holding cameras. Look at this timeline. It shows a massive, growing national consensus. It really kicks off back in 2000 with the 11th Circuit's decision in Smith v. City of Cumming. That was huge because it was the first federal appellate court to explicitly recognize a First Amendment right to record police on public property. Then, jump to 2011. The First Circuit gave us Glick v. Knife. Simon Glick actually used his early cell phone to record Boston police making an arrest, and the court affirmed that his recording was news gathering, just like a reporter's. This momentum just kept building, straight through 2017 with Turner v. Driver, all the way to 2022 with Irizarry v. Yehia, which strongly affirmed that filming police is a crucial check on the abuse of power. Now, what's really interesting here is that you can actually find your own state's specific federal protections. Let's say you live in the 7th Circuit, so that's Illinois, Indiana, or Wisconsin. You're protected by ACLU v. Alvarez from 2012. That case basically ruled that state eavesdropping laws cannot be used to criminalize the open recording of on-duty police. Or if you're over in the 3rd Circuit,
Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, you have the 2017 Fields v. City of Philadelphia ruling. That one explicitly declared that this right extends to anyone with a camera, period. Professional journalist or just a casual bystander, you are protected. Let's zoom in on a really critical ruling out of the Fifth Circuit, which covers Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. This is the 2017 case of Turner versus Driver. So Philip Turner was filming a Texas police station, just standing on a public sidewalk right across the street. Officers approached him, aggressively demanded his ID, and when he refused, they arrested him. Well, the Fifth Circuit didn't just reaffirm his right to record public facilities from public spaces. They established something totally crucial. Simply refusing to show your ID when you haven't been lawfully arrested for a crime is absolutely not grounds to put you in handcuffs.
All right, let's pivot to Section 4, Rules of Engagement, and specifically time, place, and manner restrictions.
Look, knowing your rights is only half the battle. You also have to know their legal boundaries so you don't accidentally hand an official a perfectly valid excuse to arrest you. Your First Amendment right to record is subject to what the courts call reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions. First up, you have got to stay in a lawful place. You have the right to film from traditional public forums. We're talking sidewalks, parks, open public lobbies of government buildings. You do not have the right to trespass into secure facilities. Second, never physically obstruct an investigation. Filming is protected, interfering is not. You can't be yelling over commands during a traffic stop or jumping between an officer and a suspect. Third, always maintain a safe distance. And fourth, let the camera do the talking. Exercise your right to remain silent. You really don't need to be out there debating case law on a street corner.
So that brings up a really common question. What exactly constitutes a safe distance? Well, 10 to 15 feet is going to be your best general rule of thumb. Honestly, distance is your absolute best defense out there. By keeping about 10 to 15 feet of separation, you effectively guarantee that no officer can realistically turn around and claim that you posed a physical safety threat or somehow impeded their physical movement.
Finally, let's wrap up with Section 5, which we like to call the ultimate disinfectant.
So what does this all mean? Why does it actually matter that everyday citizens pull out their smartphones to document government activity? Well, it's like that old saying goes, sunlight is the best disinfectant. Think about it. When public servants know that an objective, undeniable video witness is rolling, behavior fundamentally changes. Rights get respected, standard procedures are actually followed. And look, when misconduct does happen, that video evidence cuts straight through the official reports and the hearsay, revealing the objective truth. That smartphone sitting in your pocket right now, it is literally one of the most powerful instruments for transparency ever invented. When you film, you are exercising a right that generations fought to secure.
Knowing the law means knowing your boundaries. But by standing confidently on your constitutionally protected rights, you are doing the essential work of keeping the government transparent and accountable to the very people it serves. So I want to leave you with this final thought. How will you ensure transparency in your own community? Know your rights, always stay safe out there, and keep those cameras rolling.
Have you heard the word? thepolicerecord.com/invite/LJLP. Get you some discountage over there at thepolicerecord.com. Hope to see you there.